Good evening, all. Am I audible? And I have shared my screen. Kindly acknowledge if my screen is visible. I'm audible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thanks for your response, people. Okay. In today's session, we'll be discussing about week 11. The week 11 is completely of macros, include file and multi-file, and how it compiles as well as the make file things. Okay, we'll discuss each and everything now. So first is a macro expansion and pre-processing things. Have you watched the video lecture, people? Uh, People, can you hear me? All right. Macros in the sense of it's a pre-processor directive. So, what is it? What is pre-processor directives? Okay, what is pre-processor? Okay, so pre-processor in the sense of what is the first line of a C programming? Do you all remember how will you write the C programming? You'll give header files, right? Like this. That is hash include. Do you all remember that, people? Like this hash include stdio.h. Remember this? Huh, exactly. So this hash include, this is said to be the preprocessor, which means it will just do, like, let's say it has some predefined meaning. Okay, so I'll compile, like, it will process it before compiling. Okay, and it handle what it has to do, which means this is to use the standard input and output. So input in the sense of using scanf and to print its printf, something like this. So for these things, we can use this stdio.h. So it will just redirect. Okay, if there is a word named scanf, which means it is a keyword, it has some like it has some like process to do something that. Okay, so here this will just take this text and it will do the processes. Okay, so this is what we'll say it is a preprocessor. Similarly, we have one more thing as hash define, which means, let's say, how it will work. So this stdio means it already has some meaning, so it has to do that particular things. Similarly, by giving hash define, you can just give a value to what. Let's say I have to give a pi value, so I can just give pi 3. So by this way, whenever you find a word named pi, for that it has to use the value as 3. Okay, let's say if I'm giving a pi dot 3.14, which means wherever it is finding the word pi, it has to use as 3.14 as the value. So this is what we'll say it is a preprocessor directive or map. Okay, so generally we have to give hash define and then the macro name and then the macro value. So that is the syntax, people. Are you clear with this? This is macro name and this is of macro value. Is it clear? Great. Similarly, let's say in case of writing a function, let's say I have to add two values. So how will you write a function for that? Do you all remember how to write a function? No, a separate function for addition. So generally you'll give it as, yeah, function. That is what data type it has to return. Let's say I'm giving us int add of. Here we have to pass two parameters, right? Int a comma int b. Then what is the next step? Written. Yes, what has to be written, people? Yes, by adding it, let us nothing but a plus b has to be given. By this way, we'll give. So instead of this small function, we can just use a hash define, that is macro for that. In such a way that I'm just giving us a hash. So first word has to be a defined, and then you can just give add of a comma b. So what it has to written? A plus b has to be written. You can just give it like this. That's it, people. So by this way also you can add it. Is it clear to you all? Great. So instead of, let's say if I have to find the square of a number, for that we just need to multiply two values. So how to write for square? Square of a number. Nothing but, let's say if I give it as 5, output has to be 25. Similarly, if the value is 7, it has to be 49. Square of a number. How to write this has different, I mean macro for that? Could you all try it and in the chat box? Not square root, my square value. If it is 5, I have to print it as 25.
Ma'am, which week content we are discussing now?
Week 11.
11. Ma'am, is there any OPP?
Yes. OPP is done, no?
No, not now. Later.
After this, it's an end
Or
now. Or you'll have another slot
okay,
of OPP.
okay. After enter,
No, no, before that.
in our course there are two OPPs and one yeah, one first quiz one and then two OPPs.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes, good, Sachin, but I want you to write it in a, like, instead of function, I want you to write it in hash define, that is using macros. Not, oh, yeah, yeah, 1 minute. I'll just press it again. I hope now my screen is visible, right? Great. Okay, others please try it, ma, and I hope my screen is visible, right? Okay, can you see here this OPP2 is done? That is on March 30.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So how to write it using hash defined people for the square root? I mean square of a number. People, can you able to understand these macros? Okay, so for square number, what I have to do is I have to just give it as hash defined. Okay, after hash define, what I have to give? I have to give the, let's say if I'm giving as SQ of A. So what has to be the value to be done? I have to do a multiplication, right? Nothing but A into A, that's it. Is it clear, people? So this is how you have to write the, for square of a number, this is how you have to write the macros. Is it clear to you all? Okay, so what is the usage of this? Any idea? Why not this? Instead of this, why are we writing this? Any idea? Actually, this improves the code reusability as well as the efficiency. Yeah, it is simple to write as well. Okay, so reusability in the sense of I can just use the same code similar to the function, I can be able to use it multiple times. Okay, and next is of efficiency. Let's say, so what it is doing, so these hash define and hash include does this like pre-processing, right? Which means when it is before compilation process, it will just do like what has to be done. That is already given. So by this way, I can be able to execute faster. Is that clear? Great. And next is of predefined macros. So there are some predefined macros like underscore underscore line and then underscore underscore. This is to find the current line number of the file which we are reading now. And then to check the file name, we can just give it as underscore underscore file underscore underscore. And similarly, we can just check the date by giving underscore underscore date underscore. Okay, this is also a predefined preprocessor. There are many. I'm just telling as of now, there are three. Is this clear? Yes. So it has some text. We have to like take what it is. Okay, it's a direct one-on-one replacement of a text, which is nothing but, so what are we doing here? If I give it as hash define and if I'm giving SQ, so wherever they are finding the word as SQ, there it has to do the next process, whatever is given. Or let's say if I'm just giving us normal pi value and I'm just giving us 3. So wherever it encounters this word pi, it has to replace it with 3. Which means in the main method, they might have given us pi into r. Pi r square, nothing but. So instead of this pi, 3 has to be taken. And whatever is the r value given, they have to just substitute those values. That's it. Is that clear? Okay, so next thing is with all like which I mentioned, like has different abs of x. So what does mean by absolute? So whenever it takes the abs of x, it has to check the value is, so we can give a condition check also. That is, if the value is less than 0, they have to take it as minus x. Otherwise, it has to take it as x. Is it clear, people? By using the ternary operator, they are just using as a macro. So here, there are multiple operators are there. So to avoid the precedence issue, we have to give the parenthesis properly, like what has to be done first and what is next. Okay, multi-parameters more than one. So can you write a macro for this hash define max of a comma b? What will be the next upcoming value? Could you all try it? Yes, people. Could you all try it? Yeah, sorry for the interruption, people. Yes. Yeah, people. So keep writing the program for this. I'll just give you 5 minutes of time for that. Sorry, 3 minutes of time for that. Okay. Just write how to expand this. Like what is the macro name is given, macro value has to be written. Please try it.
Ma'am,
Yes.
my OPPs are not gone well. So what thing can I do now?
You mean did you face any issues?
I did not clear any case of any test.
Uh, could you please try writing a mail to the support team? They'll help you with that.
Can I speak in Hindi, ma'am?
हाँ, okay.
मैम मुझे कहना था मेरा ओपीपी जो है ना उतना अच्छा नहीं गया तो अभी क्या हो सकता है वो पूछना
If you're not getting that particular like, pass mark or something, like then you'll not be able to attend the end term, no? There is eligibility criteria for that, right?
एंड टर्म में भी सी प्रोग्रामिंग का कुछ होता है मैम
For C programming, yes. So for each subject, there is some eligibility criteria, right?
यस मैम
You have to
मुझे ये
get.
कहना है मैम जैसे कि सी प्रोग्रामिंग के
Hmm.
क्विज के बदले 2 ओपीपी हो गए हमारे। तो अभी एंड टर्म में भी आएगा क्या सी प्रोग्रामिंग के बारे में कुछ पेपर में?
I didn't get you. Could you please repeat?
जैसा मैम अभी क्विज में जो है सी प्रोग्रामिंग नहीं हुआ था, क्विज 2 और हाँ,
Yeah, there is no
क्विज
quiz
1
to
और
C
क्विज 2।
programming, no?
हाँ तो मैम अभी जो एंड टर्म एग्जाम है उसमें आने वाला है कि मैम कुछ सी प्रोग्रामिंग का पेपर में?
I think better you write a mail to a support team. They'll help you more.
मैं आपको समझा नहीं पाया मैम शायद क्वेश्चन।
I didn't get you now.
आई एम आस्किंग दैट एनी टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चन comes in a end term exam
Mm-mm.
on 13th April about C programming.
I didn't get you. Repeat. Mohit, could you please repeat, ma? Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. Others. Yes. Good, Sachin. Others, have you all tried, ma? So here I have to find the maximum value of two numbers given, which means I have to give a condition as if A is greater than B. What has to be the value then? So we can just write it as max of A comma B is if A is greater than B. What has to be written? A, otherwise B has to be written. Is that clear? Great. Yes, Ma. Regarding that, he need to check with the support team. Only they can help him with this. Did you write the mail, Mohit? Did you get any reply from them?
No ma'am, I did not write any mail. I am asking that in end term there are any content is मतलब कोई पेपर में ये कंटेंट आने वाला है कि मैम सी प्रोग्रामिंग का, कि सिर्फ हमें ईएसटीसी और इंग्लिश और मैथमेटिक्स ही करना है उसमें?
No, all the paper, basic papers will be there, no?
नो, क्योंकि मैम हमारे जो क्विज 1 और क्विज 2 में है मैम, हमें सी प्रोग्रामिंग के बारे में कुछ भी नहीं आया था।
Yeah, because the C programming does not have a quiz too. They have like wait, I'll just did you go through that grading document? In grading document, they have mentioned for C programming there is no quiz too. Instead, they have this thing
ओपीपी।
PPs.
या मैम, as I am asking for end term exam.
In term exam, all the subjects will be there, right? Like what are all the fundamental subjects like I think English, like math, and then ESTZ, C programming. All the subjects will be there for sure.
In end term exam,
Yes,
content from week 1 to week 12.
yes. All the subjects, the same content.
ओके। अभी तक मैं ये समझ रहा था मैम कि इसके ओपीपी हो गए तो इसका एंड टर्म में कुछ नहीं आने वाला।
Repeat, I didn't get you.
मैं ये समझ रहा था मैम कि ओपीपी इसके हो गए दोनों,
Oh,
तो अभी एंड टर्म एग्जाम में कुछ नहीं आने वाला, मुझे ऐसा लगा था मैम इसका।
no, 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 no. It is available. Like you can check the grading document here. So it is available in that.
ओके मैम।
Yeah, see, quiz one, quiz two is not, but end term is there, right?
ओके मैम।
And OPP is also mentioned.
यस।
Yeah. Okay. I hope now you got the answer, right?
हाँ यस मैम। थैंक यू।
Yeah, I'll check with the team again. All right. So now moving to this macro functions. So far we are just like using it like a function, right? Like how to just expand the few things and all. So similarly, we have one more thing is like hash, if and define, all those things are also there. Okay, I'll just mention that. Okay, so these are the include files, which means previously what we did, we had just taken it like a few things, right? Only two parameters were given, and for those two parameters, like how to find the value or what has to be stored or what has to be taken as an alternative, something like that we have taken. So now I'm just going to write it like if if defined what has to be done, otherwise what has to be done, which means if already defined, it's fine. If not, I have to define it now and what process has to be done. So that is what is done. That is what we are going to discuss in the include files. Can you able to understand this basic definition first? All right, great people. So nothing but I'll just tell you example here. Okay, so if def in the sense of it is also similar kind. So if it is based on the conditional compilation. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, like if the macro exists or not, we are going to check with that. If it exists, we have to do only the body part of that. Otherwise, I have to define it. Okay, so here we'll have it like hash if def and then the end if, which is nothing but like you can just give whether that is the end or not. Okay, and then you can just add the else part also. Example, I'm just giving us hash if def age, which means first it will check whether it is defined or not. If it is not defined, what does it will do? If defined, whatever the process I'm giving here, that will work. I mean, what after this, I'll just give the statement that will work. Otherwise, in the else part, which means it's not defined. If it is not defined, I can just give the statement like it is not defined. Okay, and next is like end of. So whatever it is, it has to do like either the condition satisfied or not, it has to do that process. Is this thing clear, people? So
Yes, ma'am.
before that, let I have if I'm giving a hash define is there, so this part will work. If this is not given, let's say it is commented, then this else part will work. Is that clear, people?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anybody have any doubts so far regarding this? All right, people. So next is of a multi-file. So here, uh, yes. Okay. So here, what are we trying to do is we have a separate code into the I mean, like separate common code into the functions, or we are just going to give it into the libraries first. Okay. Like how are we doing it with the macros? So macros, what it will do, we are just giving the functions like what has to be done that is given, right? So similar way, we are just going to give here as well. For example, let's say I have a condition followed by that. So that can also be done using this multi-file programming, which means I'm just going to give it like hash include. Let me just write here. I have a file named or yeah, I have a file named name. So name.h. I can just include that file here. So by this way, I can just write like I'm just creating it as a header file. Okay. So by creating it as a header file, I can just use its implementation, right? Like whatever the function call, I can just give the function call here and then I can be able to do the processes. Can you able to understand this? Okay, I'll give you a better example then. So I have to create a separate file named name.h. Inside it, what I'm going to do, I have to just give this hash if and if. I'm just giving some name to it. Okay, and then I'm just defining it also. Okay, so here I can just give the function names, like I'm just giving as read of, and then here the end of included, which means like function is ended. So here comes the main method. Here I have included this name.h file. Then what I have to do, I have to write the definition for this here. So read of method is just given a introduction here, and we have to give a body part for that. Is that clear, people? So by this way, I can just give two files also. Like after this module one, I can just give a next file. Two or more files can also be given. That is what is multi-file. Is it clear? I hope now you could be able to understand this, right? Great. Okay. And next is of a variable types. Do you have any idea like what are the scope of a variables? Variable scope. Do you all remember local scope and global scope? Yes, which means it's a limitation. Like till which what is its end, till which one it can be able to access it. That's what we'll say it as a scope. So generally we have two types of scopes, that is local scope and global scope. So local in the sense of it is accessible only within its function or within that block. And how about global? Which can be accessed throughout the whole program. Similarly, we have a different types of variables also. This is scope and these are types of variables. Okay, so first is of static. So static is similar to this global. So what are we going to do is whatever the value I'm using in static, if I initialize any value, that will end only at the end of the program. Let's say I'm giving a static I equal to 1 and then I'm incrementing I plus plus. So next time I'm calling the same function and incrementing the I. So what will happen? It will not reinitialize. Instead, it will take the incremented value. Let's say I is incremented to 2. Now, after calling this function, I becomes 3. After that, again, if I call this function, I will be incremented to 4. So this is what happens in static variable. Is it clear? Great. So next is of auto. So auto in the sense of, let's say if I'm giving a value as int, is my writings are visible, people?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So let's say I'm giving us int a equal to 10, something like this. So here, did I mention any scope or any type here, like static or something? So this is said to be a auto. So this is a auto variable. Okay, great. And next is of a extend. What does mean by extend? Okay, so extend in the sense of it can be accessed by all the function in all the modules of the game program. Okay, it's similar to the global, but static ends with the code. Within that program, it will end. So this extend can be accessible throughout its modules. So what does mean by module? Yes. Then how about extend? I said it's modules. What does it mean? Global means throughout the program we can be able to access in all the functions. So how about this modules mean? Which means if I'm using some functions, multiple functions, we can be able to use it. Let's say if I'm just creating a one more file, in that I can be able to use it. Example, let's say I'm creating a file named name dot c, in which I have given as extend. Okay, I'm just giving as extend int x is equal to 100. I have defined here. So in the next thing, in the main.c, I can be able to access this variable. Or I can just give it as extend. So from the external file, access the value. So extend n. Sorry, it has to be data type has to be given, right? So int n. So here you can just give it as int n is equal to 100 in the name.c. In main.c, what I'm trying to do, I'm just making this as an external file. So external file, I'm trying to access that value. So now that 100 is accessible in this, using this n, I can able to access that value. Is this clear, people?
It's clear, ma'am.
Great. So this is what is the extend. And next is of register. Do you have any idea like what is register? What is mean by register, people? Do you all know CPU registers? So here in register, the function, if I'm just creating any variable here, so only when the function is called, this will be created. Once the function is stopped, this will be terminated automatically. Okay, which means it's nothing but this is local. So here we have what is this? This auto and this register. Both are local. Static and extent are kind of global. Is it clear? Is that clear, people? Okay. Similarly, let's say if I'm just giving a static int I. Okay, if I'm just giving a static int I in the sense of automatically it will initialize the value as 0. Same with extend also. But this auto and register will take the garbage value if we didn't initialize a value. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. People, do you want me to write a program for all this, or we can just go ahead? Can I just give a basic program for all these? Yeah, I'll just take a basic examples then. Fine. Let me use online GDP here. Okay, I'm just giving us int I. That's it. So if I try to print the I value, what will be the I value? It will give me some garbage value, right? Similarly, I'm just giving it a static int I. Can you see? It initializes the value to 0. Similarly, let's say I'm writing a function as void fun of, and I'm passing not wait in variables here. Here I'm giving us int I equal to 0, I plus plus. Quotation percentile D backslash n comma I value. And here I'm just giving fun of. And let me call again the fun of. And I'm calling it price. What will be the output of this? Just any guess? Once the fun of function is called, what will happen? Yes, ma'am. What is the output of this code? No. Anyway, it's a good attempt. Okay, actually, it will print one thrice. How it printed one thrice? What is the initial I value? So once the fun is called, it will just go to this function call. So in the function, what are we doing? I is initialized to 0. Then I plus plus, which means now what is the I value? Now the present I value is 1. Then 1 gets printed. Next time fun of is called, as it's an integer, again initialized to 0, then I becomes 1, it gets printed. Then again the same process. Is it clear, people? That is why it printed I thrice. Sorry, 1 thrice. Is it clear? Great. Now, instead of this int, I'm just giving a static. Now, what will be the output? Any guess? I said static means it will end only when the program ends. Alright. Yes, good, Akhil. Can you see the output, people? It's 1, 2, 3. Why so? As I mentioned earlier, I is initialized with 0. So during the first time, it becomes 1. Next time, I is not dissolved, right? So I value is still there. So I is 1. It will be incremented to 2. So that gets printed. So next time, it will not reinitialize again because I has still a lifetime. So it will take the previous updated value and now it will become 3. Is it clear to you all? Is everyone? N number of fun, it leads to n number of output. Yes. So here, if I give it in a loop like 100 times for fun, it will just print me till 100. But if I didn't give this a static in the sense of, it will just print me 100 times. Here it will print from 1 to 100. If I give it in a loop using static and all. Is it clear? The number varies. So if it is auto in the sense of, it will print 1 again and again. If it is like static, it will just print 1 to 100, all the values. So is it clear, people? So if it is register, it's fast to access because it is stored in the CPU register instead of RAM. So let me give it as register int I equal to 0. It is similar to the auto. And next is of extend. So let me just give a new file name here. Name.c. And here I'm giving us hash include stdio.h. And let me give it as int I equal to 10. And then let me just give it this while display of printf. The value is percentile d comma I, like this. Okay, so I'm just defining the value and I'm trying to print it. Let me just store this. Now, in name.c, I can be able to access that value. That is, I'm giving us extend in I. And here I can just try to give it as printf. Okay, so here I have to give it as the let me give it as percentile d comma I value. That's it. Here let me give it as a backslash n. And here also let me give it as a backslash n. And I have to give it as hash include name.c. And let me give this function call as nothing but display of. Okay, here I have to give that, right? That is void display of. Why it is showing error like multiple definition of I. So this is how we'll give, right? Because it can be accessible within using the other functions also. I have given as hash include name.c, which means I'm trying to include this function file here. Okay, then let me just give it like this. Still showing an error. Let me just give it this. No, it is showing me an error. I'll just check with those people, but this is how we have to use the extend. So that variable has to be accessible here. You mean the float values? Then I have to define in such a way, right? Let's say if I'm giving a static int I is equal to, sorry, static float I is equal to 2.5. Then I'm just giving this, let me give it as void fun of, and let me give it as I plus plus, and here I'm giving as printf quotation percentile point 2f, comma, I value. So here what I have to do is I have to call this fun function twice or twice. Can you see here? So whatever the value I'm giving, based on that, it will increment. We can, if I want to convert it to a whole number, then I can just give it as percentile d and I have to do the type conversions. Let me just open a new file here. Let me just name it as hash include, or let me just give it as int I equal to 10. That's it. I'm saving this as name.c. Okay, so let me create a one more file here. Let me just give it as hash include std io.h and extend int I value, then int main of, and here let me give it as printf quotation percentile d comma I value. Let me give it as sample.c. Now I have to take a file path. People, is my screen is visible, ma?
Yes, ma'am.
Great, then fine. Let me just use the WSL here. Yeah, okay. C revision fine. Then in desktop, I am in IITM. In that C underscore revision. Alright, so inside which I have to execute that file gvc space. I have to execute sample.c as well as name.c. Have I include that? Okay, I should include this file there. Right, hash include. I have to give it as name.c. Now let me just execute it again. I have given there is in name file, I have just given int I equal to some value, and here I'm giving hash include name.c and extern int I, that's it, and then I'm trying to print the I value of it. Okay, let me just check this, people, but this is how we have to do for that extent. Okay, let me just check this and then I'll let you know. Sure. Okay, so before that, do you have any doubt in these things, people, like how the extent works and all? How the static works and auto works? Any doubts so far, people? Yeah, sure. So far we are discussing about the variable types, and then I have also mentioned about this. Like in variable types only, we have discussed auto and static and register as well as the extend. Okay, and before that we have discussed about the multi-files and then the macros. So macros in the sense of we can just give, let's say instead of writing a function, I can just give it like hash define. Let me just write it here. Maybe I'll just give this glimpse so that it'll be easy for you to understand further. If you have any doubts, we can discuss at the end of the session also. So by giving hash define, this is said to be a macros or preprocessor directives. So what will we try to do is here I can just give the definition. So before compiling, it will just ask what to be done. Like let's say square of a. So square of a is a into a. So I can just give it in a hash define. After hash include, like after all the header files, you can give this before the main method. Is it clear? So similarly, we can just give the possibilities like hash if def. If defined, what has to be what has to be done. If it is not defined, what has to be done. If it is not defined, this has to be done. If it is defined, some process will say that has to be done. Like you can just give it like a if and else if conditions. The defined, let's say I'm giving SQ. So SQ of A is given in the sense I'll give some statements to execute. If not, I'll just give some statements to execute. Okay. And to compile a program, I hope you all know, right? Like first I have to give GCC space. I have to compile it by using the like GCC space giver file. I can just give that. So how that works is whenever I just give a source file, that will be converted to an object file. Then it will be taken into an executable files or the folders. Okay. So if it has to be converted to an executable, then it will check and it will just tell me what are the errors or the. Okay, so compiling the source code to a machine code, where it will just combine like what are the header files are there, is there any library functions are used, all these are done, and then at the end it will just give me the output. So that is what is while compiling the code also you have to give it like gcc space giver file name. and then output file has to be of what name. Let's say here I'm giving us sample.c, and I want the output file to be yes, like this. So at the end, you can just give it as /yes, or you can just give it as a.out. It will give me whatever is the output is. Is that clear, people? To everyone? Okay. So next is of make file. So make file in the sense of here we can just use the like multiple files can also be used to execute it. Okay. So whenever there is a change in one file, it will be affected in the other files also. Okay, which means it's a dependent basis. Let's say I'm just giving us all, and then I'm just giving some name. So while executing, I'll just give it as main. Let's say that is the name I'm giving also. And what are the files to be executed? I'll just give .c, .h, like these things, like files, like .h means it's a header file, right? So whatever the file I have created, that has to be converted to a header file, and I'm just giving all these things. So and then I'll just give the output file some name also. So it will create a binary file. Make file will create a binary file named whatever I have given here. If I'm giving as M1, binary file is created for M1. Similarly, let's say I'm creating M main one. So which I'm giving the output file as M2. So this main one will create a binary file named M2. Is it clear to you all? Isma, please. All right, thank you. All right, people, then proceeding further. Okay, so we can be able to, let's say if I'm just changing any of the files here. I have one file here, this H, which I'm changing it here. Let's say if .h is not here or something, then this will be compiled again because I'm deleting it now. I'm targeting and I'm deleting it again. So this main one will be executed again, and all the other functions, like what are all the functions are there, that will be executed again. Okay, is that clear, people? Do you have any doubts so far? People, I'll just give you a 3 minutes of time. Sorry, 5 minutes of time. Just go through the things what are all we have discussed so far. Then we'll go ahead with the next topics. Is that clear? You can just go through all the topics mentioned here, people, and then just ask if you have any doubts. Okay, I'm just giving 5 minutes for that. Most probably of next week or this week after third. After completing this topic, you'll get the revision session, people. Because almost we are going to complete, right? Like this week, we don't have like practice assignments also, like programming assignments also. So most probably from next time, we'll just start with the revisions. Yes, people, have you all go through that? All right. People, shall we discuss the practice assignments then? Okay, which of the following is a default storage class? Yes, good, Syed. Others? What is the answer, people? Yeah, for here, auto is the default variable storage class. And which of the following storage classes initialize the variables with the value 0? Yes, what is the answer for that? No. Actually, if not explicitly initialized, static and extend will take the values as 0, right? Do you remember it, people? Before, when I'm writing it, I have mentioned it, right? Okay, because auto will give the garbage value. Similarly, yes, people, right. Similarly, register will also give the garbage value. And here, select the valid preprocessor directives in C. Okay, A, C, E, A, C, no, A, C, and F. Okay, and anything else? A and F. Okay, A, B, and F. What is B? Hash if F. Okay, and then people, what else are the options? Yes, what are the other options, people? Screen not was okay. Sorry, 1 minute. I'll just reshare my screen. My bad. I think I've stopped sharing it. Yeah. Okay. So actually, the valid tree processor will not include end. We'll just give hash define if def and else part, and then we can just give hash include. End can be just given at the like. We can just either give it in the like, if none of the things has to be for that, we use end, but mostly we are not using it. So it's like else we can use, or if def, and then we can use hash define and hash index. Okay. Actually, we have end if, not as end, no? If I have to end the end if, we'll just give it as end if, not as end. So end is not possible. Okay. Is that clear, people? So here the answer will be hash define if def else, or if end if, not the if. Sorry, not the end. Is that clear? That's why option C is not there. Okay. And next is which of the following are the predefined macros? What is the option? E. Yes. Good, Akhil. And what is the primary difference between if and if def? What is if? What is the usage of if, people?
Ma'am, if is used to write a conditional statement,
Okay. How about if def?
and if def is a register wise, yeah, I think.
It will check for the whether the macro is there or not, right? Whether the macro is defined or not, isn't it?
Yeah, ma'am. Is
So which,
it is a processor that used to define a conditional statements.
so then which
If
can be the answer?
so,
So if def checks for the existence of a macro and if checks for the conditions.
yes, ma'am.
And ABC is what and 100 is what? ABC is a template, right? 100 is the expansion. Do you all remember that, people? Yes, correct, Syed. It's option C. Because I have mentioned, no, this is the name of the macro and this is the value to it, macro value to it, nothing but the expansion. If ABC is there, 100 has to be inserted or used. So this is the template and this is the expansion. Is that clear, people? To everyone? Fine. Great. And here is the next question mark. So hash define pi 3 and hash define area of R is given. So here they have given area of 5. So what will be the output of this? I mean, what will be the value stored in the area?
Yeah. Ma'am, 75, I think.
Yes, 78. Okay. Actually, it's 75 is correct. Because you
Yes.
know, right, like 5 into
This,
5 into 3. Nothing but 75. Okay. And here, this is the program. Hash include stdio.h. Hash define max size of 5. If and define max size. Hash define max size is 10. End of. So, what will be the value of this? Yes. What is the value? Akhil, can you see here what is the pi value is given? Just the 3, right? That's why here we are taking as 3 into 5 into 5. What is the usage of hash define? Is that clear, Akhil? Great. Okay, now tell me the answer for this question, people. Hash define max size is 5. If and def. Let's see who is giving the correct answer. How it is 5, Abushama? Sahama? Yes, Abu, how it is 5?
ma'am, because max size 5 is already matlab, defined outside of the function. And inside max size can, that is inside the function.
Yes. If defined, we have to use this. If it is not defined, then we can use this value also. But it's already defined as 5. So here I'll get the value as 5 only. Yes. What is the answer of this? A into B plus A divided by B. Here they have given the value as 5 comma 5. 5 minus 5 comma 4 plus 2. No, Sayed, it's 5. Because it's already defined, right? Bodmer's rule, yes. You should apply a Bodmer's rule for that. Actually, here, what is the A value it will take? Tell me that at first. What is the A value taken here? Actually, here, when we are giving it in a macro, it will not evaluate people. It will just take it straight away. Which means how it will take? Instead of A, it has to take it as 5 minus 5, which has to be multiplied with 4 plus 2, which has to be added with, what is the A value? 5 minus 5 divided by 4 plus 2. So what is the end value? Just evaluate it. That is the end value, people. Okay, I'll just give 3 minutes of time, evaluate and send the answers in the chat box, people. Yes, good Premchand. How it's zero? Okay, apply the Bodmer's rule here, people. So it's like 5 minus 5 into 4. So which has to be evaluated first? Division, multiplication has to be evaluated first, right? So here the value will be like 5 minus 20 plus 2 plus 5 minus what is 5 by 4? Yes, it's 1 plus 2. Yes, what is this evaluation value was? Uh, yeah, here operator precedence it takes like this only, right? Because 5 minus 5 into 4 plus 2 plus 5 minus 1 plus 2. Because here in macros it will not evaluate the value. It does not evaluate first. It will substitute in the whatever the value it is given, then it will start to evaluate based on the precedence. Okay. No, but there is no. It is like wait. I'll just show you the question again. Here they haven't used any braces, right? So if they have used any braces, then if they have given the parenthesis, then as you mentioned, we'll get the issues. But here nothing is given, right? So that's why. All right. So here the value will be minus 7. Is that clear, people? Is it clear? Okay. Now proceeding with the next question. Yeah, what is the answer for this question? 10th question. I'll just give 5 minutes, people. Just evaluate it. Yeah, sure. For the previous question, right? Okay. So here, after this, what will happen? We'll just evaluate as 5 plus, yeah. So minus 20 is there. Then 5 plus 2 plus, sorry, minus 20 minus 1. It's minus 21 plus 5 plus 5 plus 2 plus 2. What is the value? 14, right? So minus 21 plus 14. What is the value? It's minus 7. That's it. Yeah. Yes, what is the answer of this 10th question, people? So you have to evaluate in the same way, right? Great. So what has to be done here is we have to take it as option B. Yes, good. Others, have you all tried evaluating it? Or you want some more time? Option D. Alright. Tell me, people, like how it will evaluate. So first is product of A minus B comma B minus A. So how it will be there? A minus B into B minus A, right? So now I have to substitute the same thing in the sum. So how the sum will be? A minus B into B minus A plus I have to take A plus B also. This is how it will be, right?
Yes,
Is-
ma'am. The product part became minus 1.
Yeah. So now let if I just use the values. So how it will be like 4 minus 5 into 5 minus 4 plus 4 plus 5. So what will be the value then? It's A minus B into B minus A plus. I have to take A plus B value. So A value is 4 and B value is 5.
Yeah, ma'am, it's right, minus 16. Actually, I assume in brackets A minus B and B minus A.
I didn't get you.
Yeah, ma'am, it's actually minus 16. I
Yes.
assume for matlab A minus B and B minus A in brackets differently.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. All right. So people now, did you all get an idea? It's nothing but, let's say here I'll get minus 25 plus 9. What is the value, people? Minus 16. Is it? Yeah. So this is the value I'll get. Another then option B. Then here comes the 11th question. So what is the second line of the output? For first line we have got. So what will be the output of second line? Yes, ma'am, what is the value here? Okay, the same 16, right? So it has to be either this option or this option. Am I right? So actually, this is passed here, and here it is just again taking the value of A. So instead of this A, so what it happens is here it takes the evaluation part. Okay, because it's a in hash define, we are again defining a function. So while just print 2, it has to call this print function. So in print function, it has to do the same thing, but here it will just take the evaluated value. Okay. And yes, still we have just few more questions. Okay. So now what will be the output of, I mean, like in question mark, what has to be substituted to get the value is added of all the values, all the array elements. Okay, actually what this does, here what this process is doing, is what this will do, people. What this process is, it's hash defined sum, which means what they are trying to do there, they are trying to add up all the elements in the array. Is that thing clear? Is that thing clear, people? Great. So here, can you see array is passed as a. So what they are doing here, a underscore hash hash underscore total. So what has to be called to get the added value? I hope now the question is clear, right? It's nothing but I have to give the function. I mean, like whatever is the array name that has to be given, right? Because here they have used a of I to add it, and here they have given a hash hash, right? Which means I should take whatever is the name of the array that has to be taken here. Underscore total. Yes, the option answer is option C. Good, Abu. Yeah, and one more thing is here you have to just take the questions like first has to be this line, and this is the second line, third line, fourth, fifth, and this if def is sixth. So what is the correct order? Yes, tell me more. What is the order? So what is the first step, people? First has to be this if def, right? B starts with 3, right? So what is the number here is? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now my question is what is the difference between if def and if end def? Three to four, 2 to 5. Okay. So what is the difference between here? There are two things used, right? One is if def and the other is if end def. Yes, ma'am. What is the difference between if end def and if def? If def is a conditional statement. Okay. How about if and def?
When I think when if def is not correct, then indef is correct.
Actually, if def is to check and execute it. If end def means if it is not created, that will be executed. If not defined, do this. If def is for if defined. No, no. If def and if end def. It's for not defined. If defined, do this. If not defined, do this. Okay. And here they have mentioned that assume that util dots utils.c has a function named util.1. So here first we have to give, if not defined, I have to define it, right? Here should we give us if def or if end def? What has to be given? If def is to check. If end def is if not defined, define it. If def is will just check. That's it. Here I have to define it, right? If not defined, it has to be defined. So I have to use if end def. That is 6. Okay. If not defined, define the utils underscore h. If not defined, define it. And then what has to be done? I have to give void utils, and then we have to stop the process. That is end of. Is that clear? That is one way. Other one is hash if not defined void utils, and then you can just give hash define utils underscore h, and then you can stop the process. Okay, so these both options are right. If def will only check, because here elif, or like let's say if def is done, they haven't given the else part. That's why we are just doing like this. If the else part is given, then we would have chosen that. That's why here we are not choosing the if def. If def just checks, if end def will, if not, define it. What capital format? No, I didn't understand. No, it can be, actually, can you, like, we can just give SQAR, like, can you see here, like, whatever we have given so far, we have given only in the uppercase. It's completely has to be uppercase. Can you see? Hash defined, and then whatever the value we are giving, it's given in uppercase. Is that clear? It's like, right. And the last two questions are, so all main is created, and for main, the output file has to be main. And for main 2, main new is the output file. For debug, main underscore debug is the output file. So which are the following options are correct? Okay. This will create a, like main will create a binary name file to main. Main 2 will create a binary file named main underscore new. Debug will create a binary file as main underscore debug. This whole make file will create a binary file named main. Now tell me which are the options are correct. Because that is the output file, no? So that is why it is creating as a binary named. Like we'll create a binary file named main underscore new main hyphen debug. Now tell me what are the correct options. Yes. Well, what is the answer, Ma? Can you all able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, great. Then what is the output here? Which are all the options are correct? B and D. A and D. Okay. Okay. This whole make function will create a binary file named main. That is correct. So this option is right. This from this second line to third line will create a main function, like make main will create a binary named main. And this main2 will create as main hyphen new, not as main2. So this is not the option. And here debug will create a binary named debug in debug mode. No, no, it will not open it in a debug mode. It will just create a binary file named main hyphen debug. That's it. So here the options are B and C. Is it clear to you all? Great. And here's the last question for the session. Consider the make file. If we change the function.h, so what are the targets will be compiled again? In which function we are executing this main function.h, that will be if function.h is changed, what are the make file has to be executed again? A, B, C, D, C and D. Perfect. Answer is option, because here in main2 we are just executing this. In debug also we are executing it. Okay, only these two options. Yes, do you have any doubts so far, people? Yeah, perfect, Abu and Syed. All right, people. Okay, if you have no doubts, we can wind up the session now. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, people, you can leave.